Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I am going to be showing you how to paint these two cute, adorable birds on a branch with beautiful flowers all surrounding them. I'm so excited. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
Now, this is huge because this is day one of what is now Acrylic August. I have been doing for 5 years now a daily painting challenge every April with my community, but this April I couldn't do it in April, so we had to bump it to August. So now it's Acrylic August. So you get 31 paintings instead of 30, so bonus. And every day we're going to meet during this month and do a new little painting. It's just a new little painting every single day, because nothing makes you better at painting or gets you more confident in painting than actually painting. And painting every day does a bunch of magic stuff for artists, where it really helps us break down our inhibitions and get over our insecurities, because at some point you're just like, oh, I got to do another painting, and you don't really have time to be beating yourself up or worrying about it, right? You're just doing the challenge. And you can do this, you can do this challenge any way you want to, but this is definitely really, I highly encourage you to do it daily if you can.
Right.
If you can. Now, I'm not going to expect you how to know anything on this, so I'm going to break everything down. Like, if you've never done this before, I'm going to break everything down into steps. I'm going to explain those steps thoroughly and clearly. You're going to see the color mixes. You're going to see the tools. If you want to see the materials or information like that, that's in the description below. If you don't want to do, I'm going to show you how to freehand these birds in. But if you don't want to do that because you're like, yeah, that doesn't sound fun to me, I have a traceable and you can just download it and transfer it on to the canvas. I will tell you at what stage you do that. To everyone who's here for your first day, I want to say, yay, first day. If you're here at the premiere and this is your, let us know right now in the premiere or in the comments below, depending on when you're watching this, if this is your first Acrylic August. Well, it's all of our first Acrylic August, isn't it? But if this is your first time to do the challenge, or is this your fifth time to do the challenge? Fourth, third, where are you at in the challenge? Have you done it before? And maybe throw up a message if you're an experienced challenge goer, to those new people who are stepping. This is maybe their first painting, and in the 31 that they're facing, give them those encouraging words. And there's really nothing to do but encourage each other, get our paint, get our brushes, and let's just start the challenge.
All right.
All right, for today's materials, we're going to be using an 8x8 surface. This particular one is the Art Alternatives Classic Cotton. On my palette, I have the colors Mars Black, Burnt Sienna, Phthalo Green, Cad Yellow Medium, Quinacridone Magenta, Cad Red Medium, Phthalo Blue, Ultramarine Blue, and Titanium White. Now, there's really nothing to do but jump on into that first step. We just got to do the first step.
Let's get into it.
So I'm going to start out with a 3/4 inch Catalyst Princeton angle brush. But listen, you could use a bright, you could use a oval mop, you could use any brush that you wanted to start. I'm going to get this brush slightly wet and drag off the extra water, and I'm going to come up here to my ultramarine blue. I'm going to take out a little of my ultramarine blue, bring over a lot of my titanium white. We're going to be using a lot of white on this background because we want a very light blue background. And I'm going to just brush back and forth, and it's okay that it's streaky. That
Streaky.
is just fine. In fact, it's preferable.
It adds to
the interest of this background, because we're not putting clouds or anything in, but by making it an uneven kind of color and not so blended, it'll feel a little more sky-like. Sky adjacent anyways. So not using a lot of water. Just back and forth. And you can see I'm just allowing the streaks to be there. My goal is to cover the whole canvas this way. You can see I'm pulling little beads of white over here and getting a little bit.
It's very, very light.
Yeah, we want it very, very light. That way our bluebirds really pop through contrast instead of color like hue. So sometimes we help things pop by using a color that would pop out of the background, but sometimes we help things pop by using value, how light or dark things are,
right,
to create that difference. And so we're going to do a little bit of both here. just letting this be streaky, is we're going to be using hue, because the phthalo blue will read so different than the ultramarine blue on the birds. And we're also using values. So we're using kind of two things. And again, just streaky. Streaky is okay. Now I might go through here and kind of make sure, right, that the canvas is covered in some kind of a way. But I'm absolutely fine with the streaking on the paint.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure I don't have a pattern of streaking. I just want kind of light blue, slightly streaky blue and white background. Now, after this, I'm going to rinse my brush out and put it to the side. I'm going to dry everything thoroughly, and then I'll show you what we do next. So now I want to put in the darkest value for my branch and my birds. I'm going to take a number 6 Raphael sepia round, just any round brush you have that gives you a good point. I'm going to get a little bit of black paint, and I'm going to thin it a little bit with water to improve the flow. Just improving the flow just a little bit with water. So if this is the halfway point, I'm going to come down a little bit below the halfway point, and I'm going to make a horizontal line across, but I'm going to let that line kind of be uneven and not just a straight line. Notice that that's sort of a crooked line.
Yep.
That's because I want my branch to feel natural. So one of the ways that I can do that, besides the techniques I'm going to paint it with, is to make sure that those edges, it's not a straight stick. And then you're going to want to paint all of that in with your black paint. Kind of come around. If you're painting around the sides, you can paint it around the side. But that's what we're doing here. It's all filled in with black paint.
Just got to give it a little fill in, huh?
Yeah. I'm going to do this and little birds in silhouette first. That's our trick here.
Get the silhouettes going.
Mm-hmm. And then build up the values and layers and hues on top of that to reveal the picture. But right now we're just going to paint across with a little bit of black. That's doable.
Totally doable.
Totally doable. Just across. Now, to do the next part, I really want my branch to be completely dry. So let's call this a step. And when we come back, I'm going to show you how to freehand in the birds. But you can use a traceable if you're not into freehanding it. It's available on my website, so it's not something that you have to worry about. But let's dry it and come back. I'll show you how to freehand them in if you want to learn how to do that. Okay. So I've dried this, so I'm not dragging my hand through wet paint. I'm using the same brush, same method. I'm going to bring a little water over to my black and thin it by mixing them together. You'll notice I'm working from that outside edge. Just making sure I've got a nice flow of black. And I do tend to roll my brush and clean it off on a paper towel. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sit there and say, all right, I want a little bird. I'm going to make a little bit of a circle. A little bird circle. And then I'm going to come here and make sure I have a nice little circle on top. And come below the branch. Put a little tail feather down. I kind of separate them up at first. And then I will join them in after. And go ahead and paint this inside. And again, you can do this freehanding with me if you're confident, but if you're not confident, you can use the traceable at this stage and use the transfer method to get your little birds in. Now I'm going to come here and kind of like bring a little feather around. Bring these little streaks in to kind of generally create a little bit of a wing. Like to bring a little forehead up more. And then come down a little bit, and I'm going to bring in a little beak. Not going to be too big, the little beak. So that's one little bird, and then depending on how much personality I want to give it, I can make him fatter. Whatever works here, because it's just a general little bird. Now, on the second bird, I want to leave enough room for them to be fairly close together, but I also want to change some of the positioning a little bit so they don't look like they're mirrors of each other. So I'm going to bring that little circle a little bit lower and angled. Go ahead and just fill that in right now. Then I'm going to bring a little bit of a circle on top. Pull in some little wing feathers. Drop 2 little tail feathers down here. Same thing where they're not so close together that I can't join them in. So we just incrementally build that in. And then I'm going to put this little beak upwards. See how we're doing? And then put in that little forehead. Now that I can see that angle. And just slightly angle it there. So there we have the shape of the birds and the shape of our wood. We dry everything. And then we get to go into the next step, which is also going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah.
So I want to create some wood texture here and put these tails behind the branch. And to begin then, I'm going to take a little bit of my black and my burnt sienna together. Just kind of make a dark chocolate color. I'm going to come here and make short little brush strokes. This is my dark chocolate color. It's okay if some of the black is showing through. Just right across here. Short little brush strokes. Pretty dark right now. But you're doing great. Now I might come into some just burnt sienna. Kind of bring that down a little bit. So that's a little brighter. So we're going to be creating this thing where it's lightest at the top and darkest at the bottom, and that's going to give roundness to our branch. And I'm letting my brush stroke be rough because that helps imply texture. Now I'm going to add a little bit of white and a smidge of yellow to my little brown mix here. I'll let it blend together on the canvas. They're kind of mixing, you can see, on the surface together. And I'm keeping the lighter color more towards the top of the branch. Now, if you're not making any headway, it may be that your underlayer paint is just still too wet and you need to hit it real quick with a hairdryer just to make it a little bit tacky.
A little bit tacky.
A little bit tacky where you can layer easily. And speaking of, we will get there to do the dry brushing and the pops of color that are more dramatic, right? But let's dry this and come back and I'll show you what we've got going on next. So we have some more branch to do. I'm going to take my white over to my brown, make a much lighter color, put a little yellow in it. And come here and, between them, add some brighter little highlights. It might be a little lighter here as I'm coming there. The bird would block some light. Making different little rough brush strokes just to kind of talk about the little highlights. You'll notice that I leave what's underneath to show. So what you're learning here is how your paint layers up and how value is impacting the shape of objects. And how brushstroke, right, creates an implied line. Come in and get a little bit more yellow in there. A little more brown.
I like how you're able to make that texture with just the little tip of the brush.
Just a little tip of the brush. Just because we're painting something simple doesn't mean we can't put a lot of thought into it. All right, you can see that that branch is just starting to pop and come into life. I can come back with a little bit of my burnt sienna. Bring some bright pops of brown through there. There we go. Now we have a nicely rounded little brush, don't we? Little twig is coming across here.
You really do.
It's perchable. I can come back with some black. Can make some cracks in the wood. So I can make it an interesting branch, truly. And see how the shadows like really pull it all together? Dancing these little rough lines of like the wood break and the shadows that are in the wood. Now, we're going to dry everything. And guess what? We're going to come back and show you what you do next. Yes, we're going to show you the next step. I don't mean to surprise you with it, but it's what we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to put on my vision enhancers right here, and I'm going to get a detail brush. Small detail. This is a number 0 Raphael precision brush. I'm going to get it slightly wet, pick up a little black paint, come over to my white, and I'm going to make a little gray. A little gray, my friends, a little gray. Just mixing up a little gray. And I'm going to come here on just the tip of this, and I'm going to take the top of the beak and just make that a little bit slightlier gray. Once I know where that is, I can come back off that beak line just a little bit, and I'm going to make a little circle. All right, so that will be where my eyes are. Once I know that, that's going to make things a lot easier for me. Okay, so I have the top of the gray beak, I have the little circle, and now I'm going to come in and get a little bit of my phthalo blue. And I might put a little Mars black into the mix just to have dark and light. So first, I'm going to come here to the top of the head. Right up over the eye with my dark blue. I'm going to do the same here. Get a little white involved. We're just starting to just show the blue.
Really just kind of getting that undercolor in, huh?
Yeah, we're getting that undercolor in. Come back here. I'm going to paint a little bit of my little wing in. I'll bring it back here where there's just a little bit more structure. It's going to come right there. There we go. Just again, getting this rough beginning in. I'm going to want to come here and I'm going to grab a little bit of my gray into my white. Make sure my brush isn't too wet. I'm going to come underneath here and make a little bit of a kind of a little white cheeky cheek. And then down the belly a little bit. And there's going to be a little bit of a black division between the little feathers so far. We'll kind of bring this back. Let it dry brush. Doing the same thing over here. Little short brush strokes. And brush up a little bit of that gray. Get into my blue black here a little bit more. Might get some white kind of loosely mixed in so that when I come in. Just a little bit down here at the bottom. Just blending it in. So it's a dark tail, but it's just got a little bit of something on it. Okay, so we have that really, really blocked in. Let's dry everything.
Dry, dry, dry.
Dry, 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 dry. Dry, dry, so the layers work. So I'm going to get a little more white going into my brush. And I'm going to want to start to highlight the little chest here. I'm dry brushing down. I'll come back here and kind of flick that in so it feels a little bit like feathers, if you can see. And then down here I'm lighter with my hand so that it's a little bit more gray. Just brushing that across there. Just giving it a little bit of a look. You're here at the chest. Light bright brushing down here so it stays darker gray. And then just a little more lightness right here. And just a little more lightness right here. Just right here centrally at the chest. A little bit under the little beak here. Get a little blue, a little white. Just bring that back here. A little highlighting of the blue. Wipe off my brush. I'm going to get a little more white onto it. A little bit here at the top. Kind of shading that through. Now I'm going to come right down here in this wing. Make a little brush stroke, a little brush stroke, a little brush stroke for those sort of longer feathers. Little brush stroke, little brush stroke, little brush stroke. And come up the top of the wing. Come in and get a much lighter color. If I have to wipe my brush off on my towel to control the paint, I do. I do that a lot. I have a paper towel next to my palette and I wipe my brush off on there a lot. Just picking little brush strokes for feathers. Little short brush strokes at the top here, just to kind of show the little highlights. Rinse that out. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my black. I come here and make sure that my black markings are like clean. Under the eyes. Over the eyes. Back through the neck. Get a little bit of white involved. Some little feathers back there, just a little touch of them. Oops, too much black there, so I'm going to wipe off my brush. Come back here and blend that out a little bit. Just making sure that our feathers feel like feathers, and our little markings feel like our little markings. A little more white up there. So we're getting sweet little birds. Sweet little birds. Now I'm going to put this brush down.
Birds.
Yeah, they're very cute little birds. Put my brush down and get my precision brush again. My number 0 Raphael Precision. I'm going to get some just black paint. And I'm going to draw one little toe. And then another little one on either side of it. Just a little bit of feet. Tough to see the feet till we highlight them, but we're gonna. Make sure that my little beak has got a nice little line on it. Sometimes I will come inside my eye and thin that gray line a little bit. Just thin it out. And rinse out my little brush here. Wipe it off with a towel. Whenever you have a small detail brush, wipe it from like that mid space down through with the towel so that you don't have hidden water drops getting on there. And get just the smallest amount of white. Highlight our little feet because that's how they're going to show. Come over here. Little highlights on our little feet. Little highlights on our little feet. Rinse out. Get my brush again, wiped off, a little bit of white. I'm going to come here to the eye. Paint a little reflection. Come here to this other eye. Paint a little reflection. My goodness. We painted a couple of cute little birds.
Yeah.
Just a couple cute little birds.
Such cute little birds.
That's cute little birds. All right, let's dry everything with our hairdryer, and then I'm going to show you what you do next. So now I want to put in some light little branches. I'm going to get my brown brush again. This is my number 60 pen, and get a nice black load on my brush. Roll it out just on the tip. I'm going to come here from the left-hand side, kind of heading towards the right. This will be my thickest part. And then I'm going to branch out a little bit. I also angle out a little bit there. And my goal is to try to make crookedy little things. And come up here. There we go, little crookedy branches. Crookedy little branches. Let's come down here a little bit to the side of this bird, and then let's make another little crookedy branch. Come down here in the lower. To make sure there's little knobbles. Now some of these we lose because we're going to paint flowers right over them. This is just a good way for us to figure out where we want our flowers to grow. I'm going to come over to the right-hand side now. Kind of painting backwards. I come in from the edges there. Bring these down. Adding little twigums to them. Little offshoots, and these are kind of like dry leaves, little twigs going off. Thicken that little stem up a bit. So now we have some nice stems. That's pretty cool. I like that. While we have the stems there, we're going to take a little bit of our phthalo green and our burnt sienna together. And a little bit of cad yellow. And add just a few little leaves here. Again, these might get behind flowers and stuff, but we're just making sure that we've got little bits of these. This is a little touch pull stroke.
Nice little flowers.
Oh, we hope so. We can add more leaves later, but we're just putting these in now. I might turn my canvas a little bit so I have an easier time doing a touch pull stroke. That's the thing that you can do. You move your canvas, not yourself. Make sure you're doing that, moving your canvas, not yourself. We're going to be at this for a minute. 30 days of painting is a lot. And so if you're doing the challenge, if you're just doing this one painting, then you're probably okay. But if you're doing the 30-day challenge, it's important to remember that moving the canvas and not your body. Put my little tapes back on the corners. Back down. All right. Now I want to dry everything. And then I will come back and show you what the next step is.
All right.
So now I want to put out some small flowers. I'm going to take my quinacridone and my cad red together. I really like them in combo. A little more magenta than cad red. And then I like to mix a little white into it loosely. So I'm not thoroughly mixing it. I'm loosely mixing it. And I'm going to come here towards the ends, and I'm going to put in little buds. Just around a few little buds. Come down here. Few little buds. I like to make them bigger and smaller so that they feel like, they're part of the natural world.
Yeah.
Little variance, my friends. Variance is everything. I might move this canvas a little bit, and I might be doing that
That's
some.
okay. So you can get to those little brush strokes easier.
So you get to those little brush strokes easier. You don't you sit there and you just reorient stuff as you need to. Tough for John on the time lapse, but easier for us in the painting.
Oh, it's no problem. This is just, I don't think we're going to time lapse any of this. It's all pretty quick.
Gotta reposition my tapes.
That's okay.
Gotta face my tapes. All right, so there's little buds in. And then we can start painting bigger flowers once we have the buds in. So I'm going to get a little more white. I'm going to come here and nice big brush stroke. Just loosely mixing. Little pointed star flower there.
Okay, little bigger flowers.
Making bigger flowers. So it's the same sort of brush stroke, but we're just pulling more colors in.
Making them bigger.
Making them bigger. And mixing up the white and the pink. So they look a little better. Sometimes I kind of open them up that way. Let's add a bunch more down here. Mixing up the cad red, quinacridone magenta, and some white. Loosely mixed.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep, yep.
Yep, yep.
There, nice big one there. Nice big one there. Might turn the canvas. Continuing to like make sure that this side feels like it's just got tons of flowers.
Yeah.
If I got a layer over it, I can grab like, I can use color. I want you to kind of improve how the little flowers go.
Right.
Just a little star flower.
Those flowers really bring the whole thing together.
Yeah. They're just pulling the whole story together. Just continuing to tell the story down here. Sometimes I want to come back and add a little value change to layer some of these on top of the others. You know, little magenta, little cad red, little titanium white.
Yep.
Now we need a little grip of flowers over here.
Now you do the other side.
Gonna do the other side. Just a nice little star. I press harder when I want the leaves to be bigger. Sometimes I might put a little more white in the mix to improve the little look of the flower. Just filling it up with flowers. Sometimes they're lighter, sometimes they're darker. All right, when you get that in where you're happy with it, you're going to want to go ahead and dry everything.
Thoroughly dry.
Thoroughly dry. So now I'm going to go through with a little bit of black on the toe of my brush. And I'm going to come into the centers of some of these and add little black centers.
Just some little dots.
Little dots. Just little dots. And then we have two little birds on a branch with some flowers. And then we have one final sort of fun last trick.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my detail brush again. I'm going to grab a little bit of my white, pink, it's okay. And I'm going to come here and
Just a little bit of highlight, huh? That adds some neat.
just a little bit to separate these up from their background. Just so that they look a little bit better. Oops, and I missed very quickly, they put a little black dot in there. I missed it.
That's all right.
So that's another thing, sometimes going back through and just checking your work.
Yep.
It's a nice stage to have. Don't have to do it everywhere. And see, I'm already catching several places that I missed my dots.
Right. Just add some more.
Yeah, as I go through, I'm just going to add some more. Just grabbing a little white. We're just getting our art on. Stretching our little art skills every day. Can see it just adds another little dimensionality to the flowers.
Oh, it really does.
You don't have to do every one, but you just want to do some. Like some of these that are over the light blue doesn't really need the white lining and it wouldn't really show.
Right.
But if you put it in a couple places where your flowers need a little more dimensionality, you're going to find that it helps everything pop a little. Not forget my little dot down in the corner. That looks pretty good. Now, signing is an interesting thing for me because I never like to sign where I distract from the whole painting and the signature.
Yeah.
I think I can get away with black this time because I have enough black in the painting. If I didn't have a lot of black in the painting, I would sign with like maybe a blue. But what I wouldn't want to do is create a signature that just detracted from everything that was going on. There we go. A little signature.
Really nice.
To say we're done. We've done our work today. We're doing good. Excellent, excellent. Okay, when we come back, I'm going to tell you what you do next. Congratulations, you got the painting done. We've got day one down. Day one is tucked up and underneath us. We're ready to get on to day two. If you weren't aware, this is part of a 31-day, actually, this year painting challenge, Acrylic August. And so there are 31 other paintings like this that you can do every single day or every other day, whatever is the best for your pace. But if you're doing the challenge, it's every single day. And by painting every single day, you get much, much better at painting because that's where your big like growth as an artist comes from, is consistency and persistence. And so this is step one in that. And I'm really proud of you. Now, if you'd like to share your wonderful painting with me, you can check the description down below. You'll see I have a website there. You'll see I have links to everything I had in the show. I have an art store. You can buy these things at the art store. And you can also come by the Art Sherpa official group and share your painting on Facebook. Or there's a group called Acrylic April, because normally we do this challenge in April.
Yeah.
And you can come by and share your group with that. And what those groups are is they're closed groups that are highly curated. So it doesn't really matter if your paintings are secret, if it's not something you're sharing with everybody, if you're just feeling like nervous. It's a great first place to share it under there. This is my 5th year.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
I think this is my 5th year of doing this challenge with my community. So you have some people in there who've been there since year 1, which was just mayhem. And they're going to have so many words of encouragement for you. So I do recommend that you share it in those groups and get those words of encouragement, because it's through encouragement and the support of the community that we get through big challenges like that, because we're not doing them just by ourselves, isolated alone in our studio. Like
Right.
You've got a lot of support. So definitely take action in that support. As soon as this video is done, it's going to like hit you over to like what the next one is if you're here for the premiere. If you're here on the replay, I've got a playlist, and you can also find all of these on the website at the Art Sherpa Official, because we try to curate these all together into one big group. Guys, I'm super proud of you. You need to be proud of yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back. I want you to be good to yourself. I want you guys to be good to each other. And I will see you at an easel real soon. Bye-bye.